We have somebody with us right now who knows everything about it. Alex Smith. She's a Republican tax expert. And good morning, Alex.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, good. Good to have you on the air with us here.
We've got a lot of pressure.
Thanks for having me.
It's like, oh, she can take pressure. Where are you at right now in the country, Alex?
So typically I'm based out of Washington, D.C., but for the holidays I'm closer to the New York area.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for joining us here. All right. Well, there's either people are happy or they're mad or sad or whatever it is, no in between. With the Trump tax bill that just passed, and first of all, why people are happy? Why are people not happy?
It really just boils down to pure politics. Because how could you be unhappy about putting more dollars in the wallets of the American people who so sorely deserve that money after 8 years of stagnated economic growth and no wage growth? So this is a huge Christmas present for the American people. This is a big promise that President Trump and congressional Republicans delivered on. And the fact that not one Democrat crossed the aisle to work with this plan, to support this plan, is actually pretty surprising to me, considering that there are so many senators who are vulnerable in states that the president won. I think that the reason why they're unhappy, though, is because they really are betting that this is going to cost the Republicans dearly in 2018. You heard that Chuck Schumer called this a gift the Democratic Party. Nancy Pelosi, behind closed doors, she said that she basically urged her members to oppose the bill because it would get them back to the House in 2018. And so it's exactly the kind of nonsense and shenanigans that the voters decided in 2016 that they were tired of. But the Democrats just keep playing that game.
Well, there's even around here in Florida, I talk to a lot of people that are very smart people, and it's amazing how they think that this is going to hurt everybody, and the old thing, this is only going to make the rich get richer. But this is part of my whole thing of simplifying the complicated to it. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit to us little guys that go out there and work, and a family trying to raise some kids and make ends meet and working a couple of jobs. What's so good for them about this that are making household combined income of, say, $50,000 a year?
Well, so I think that the most significant reform is that we're increasing the standard deduction. And so if you're an individual, you're going to see a sizable bump in your standard deduction. Particularly if you're married, it's $24,000 if you're married, or if you're married filing jointly, and that's not even including the kind of the child care credits that you can get. There are all kinds of ways that middle class taxpayers can win in this bill, and so this has really just been a huge boon to the middle class, in my opinion, while also on the corporate side making it more competitive to do business in this country. We want to encourage companies, not only foreign companies, to invest in Americans to do business, but we want to see American companies do that as well. I mean, if you look at Boeing, Comcast, these are all companies that after the tax bill was passed decided to give out bonuses to their employees. So talk about a huge Christmas present to those workers who have an extra $1,000 or $2,000 in their pockets this Christmas time. Maybe that doesn't mean much if you're one of these rich Democratic senators like Claire McCaskill, but for a hardworking family down in Florida, that could be the difference between making it at Christmas time or not.
I guess, and then, because, I know people that, are still crying about Hillary not winning and everything, and, and then they go, yeah, now we got to pay taxes on that bonus we got.
That's correct. This is Bob from Flagler Tax Service. Hi, how are you this morning?
Go ahead. Bob's in the studio here. He's our local tax man. And do you have a question for Alex Smith?
No, I really don't have a question. I've looked over this tax thing probably more than most people because I'm in the business of doing this. And there is really just one thing that really, really, really gets my craw a little bit.
Okay.
On the 1040, there's a deduction for $250 for teachers. Now they're taking that out. They're taking that out. Now, realistically, if you had a business or an LLC, you can take all your expenses of your pens, your pencils, your crayons, all that other stuff, and you can put it on your tax return, and it is a deduction. Okay? As far as the teachers, it's only $250. Okay? It's not a huge amount of money. But that $250 could make a big difference in a kid's school. All right.
Well, then it seems kind of petty in the scope of everything.
Correct.
But I guess the question is why, somebody had to put that in the bill, right?
Somebody did.
So, Alex, go ahead, Alex.
So, I mean, look, I totally agree that for teachers, that extra deduction really helps, because so many teachers that I know dip into their own pockets to buy supplies, to decorate classrooms, stuff that they wouldn't be normally given by the school. So I completely agree that an extra $250 could help. I think what congressional Republicans were doing, though, was attempting to sweep up a lot of those little deductions into the enhanced standard deduction. So just to put this into perspective for you, you have, right now, if you're single and filing your tax returns, you get to take an automatic $6,350 out from your income. Now that increases up to $12,000. So there are a lot of little categories, and unfortunately, they have groups of people attached to them. So people say, "Oh, why are you going after this group? Why are you going after teachers?" It's not so much about going after any one group or being petty just to strike, a mere $250 from that particular group. It's about just simplifying the overall process by including it in that standard deduction.
Sure, I can understand that, but by the same respect, what they did was they took the exemptions off the tax return. Okay, so if you have a family of 6, you get kind of screwed there a little bit. Because realistically...
Well, I don't know if I would agree with that, because let's just say you're married and filing jointly. You now get to deduct not $12,700, you get to deduct $24,000.
$24,000.
And that's not even counting the kind of child tax credits that you could get. So it'll be doubled from the $2,000 that it currently is for children under 17.
I have a question. By the way, if you just tuned in, Alex Smith, you're with the Republican National Committee, is that correct?
No, I'm with America Rising PAC. We do opposition research on Democratic candidates.
Oh, okay. All right. That must be an interesting job. The Obamacare.
It's never a boring one.
With Obamacare, how does that change? And I guess part of this is, if I understand, the mandate has been removed. So if you don't want to buy insurance, you don't have to for 2018. Is that correct?
Not for this coming tax relief. Not for this tax season coming up. No.
So that would be for 2019.
19, yeah.
Okay. And then...
Sorry, yes, it'll be for the taxable year 2019.
Okay,
so a lot of people, there's a lot of Democratic...
Go ahead, Alex.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish.
Well, there was a lot of hyperbole on the Democratic side saying, in this tax bill, Republicans are stealing people's health care. That's not what's going on. First of all, a vast majority of people won't be affected by this provision because many people get their health insurance through their workplace. And so, this isn't going to really affect a lot of people. What this counts for, or who this really affects, are the people who don't get their health care through their employers. I think that's someone who's self-employed. They were required by law, under penalty from the IRS, to buy health insurance. And I'm 28 years old. I have a lot of younger friends who are doing all kinds of fun entrepreneurial stuff. They're, there are these classic sort of millennials that are kind of in between jobs, kind of like looking for their career path. And so I have a lot of friends who actually were affected by this. And what they were telling me was just absolutely horrifying, which is that they were facing huge, huge penalties. They were facing huge premiums up to $400 or $500 a month, basically to just cover one physical a year, and not even really counting prescriptions or vision, certainly not dental. So, instead, they were just opting to pay the fine from the IRS. So what this does is this repeals the individual mandate, which will hopefully make it more competitive to, or will give these insurance companies more of an incentive to offer more competitive plans to these situated people.
I can agree with what you're saying, okay, but your $500 number is not correct, okay, and I can give you an exact example of myself. It's my wife, my 2 boys, and myself. Okay, last year our premiums were $5 and change a month. They have gone to $1,700 a month. Okay, and you can't shop it down here in Florida because there is 2 insurance companies, and Blue Cross and Blue Shield owns Florida Healthcare. So where do we go? What do we have to do? And I had lung cancer. My bill from Flagler Hospital was over $400,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so here, I guess the question would be so if young, healthy people don't have to buy any insurance and pay into it, that was offsetting and subsidizing a guy like Bob, right? So now coming up in 2019, there's going to be no subsidizing, so his rates would probably go up even more in 2019. Is that a safe assumption?
Well, supposedly what Trump wanted to do was to make the marketplace more competitive, where you can go outside the state to get insurance. That's a good thing, too, to go outside the state, but shouldn't insurance companies be able to come into the states? Yes.
What do you think on that, Alex?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think what Obamacare did is it made the marketplace terribly uncompetitive. It gave these insurance companies no incentive to lower prices, to give the best possible deal for customers, because there really wasn't an incentive to compete. I think what the repeal of the individual mandate will do is that it's not meant to increase the premiums for everyone else, because the younger people that I'm talking about, these were people who wanted health insurance. They wanted to make sure that they were able to see their doctors, they were able to get the prescription medications that they needed. But they didn't want to pay the $600 or $500, $600, $700 that they would need to pay as an individual, not as a family, but as an individual, for getting that kind of coverage. So, I think what the repeal of the individual mandate does is, now that they're no longer required to buy it, all of a sudden, these become much more, this gives the consumers a lot of bargaining power with the insurance companies. The insurance companies still want to make money off of them, and they, in fact, do want to still buy a product from them in a lot of cases, but they don't have to now. And so that gives the insurance companies more of an incentive to compete to get their dollars.
Hey, Alex,
which I think will lead to lower prices.
In the studio, we have one of our county commissioners, Nate McLaughlin's in here, and he had a comment or question. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, Alex, I had a question for you. Okay, with the repeal of this individual mandate, does this put ACA back before the Supreme Court? Because if I remember right, and I could have this wrong, I'm hoping that this is your specialty, but Chief Justice Roberts, his whole thing was the mandate was a tax, and so therefore this whole thing was legal, which led you to the impression that without the mandate, this might not even stand anyways. Is anybody bringing that up, or have I got this wrong, or where are we on that? Because it seems to me without the mandate, you don't have a legal legislation. Go ahead.
What I think that, in the Supreme Court case, what the Supreme Court was saying was that basically the individual mandate was a tax, and that was something that Congress had the authority to pass. Right. Because the question was not on, whether or not it's a good idea. It was whether or not Congress has the authority to pass it. with tax reform, what Congress is doing is basically just taking that away. And so, essentially the Supreme Court was ruling on Congress's authority, not on necessarily the individual merits of the plan.
Okay. All right. My understanding was the plan could stand because of the mandate and basically made the whole plan a tax. So, anyways, I that just question had come up a number of times, and I thought I had you here, so I'd ask you.
All right, so President Trump saying it's like a Christmas present for the country, basically, for most people. Who are the losers? Who does it really hurt?
Well, number one,
I'm going to ask Alex that, and then because we have to let her go. So,
gotcha.
So Alex, who are the losers with this tax bill?
I think the biggest losers are the Senate Democrats who are running in states that President Trump won in 2016. There are 10 of them. 5 of them are running in states that he won by double digits. And so they all voted in lockstep with Chuck Schumer against this plan. They didn't cross the aisle at all to help consider, to help work on it with their Senate Republican colleagues or to work with the president. I think that's going to be a really tough sell to their constituents back home when they open up their paychecks next year and they see considerably more money in them. And they say, how did that happen? Oh, that was from the Republican tax plan that you voted against. So I say, this tax plan benefits a vast majority of Americans, and I think that the people who voted against it are the people that are going to pay a political price.
Okay. All right. Well, any final comments, words of wisdom from Alex Smith?
I would just really keep an eye on the Senate Democrats and on the House Democrats that voted against this bill. I think that in 2016, the American people were sending a strong message that they wanted the gridlock in Washington to change, and then they were tired of the way that the status quo was working. And I think all of the Senate Democrats and all of the House Democrats that voted in lockstep against the bill that's going to benefit a huge majority of Americans. What they're doing is just contributing to the same kinds of frustrations that Americans had in 2016.
All right. Alex Smith, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for joining us.
Merry Christmas.
All right. And we're going to take a break. We'll be back. And in the studio, Bob Newsom, Flagler Tax Service, our local tax expert. Nate McLaughlin, our expert on, what are you an expert
Everything
on?
County.
Everything County. And Brian McMillan, expert on covering everything. All right, with the Palm Coast Observer. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.